Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.
Welcome back to another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. Another exciting Dubai startup story today. I'm here with Josh Ashley Collins, the CEO and co-founder of Playbook. So Playbook is a lifestyle app giving users all access, free-to-use listings of all ongoing restaurant and hospitality offers, as well as experiences curated exclusively for Playbook users. So we're going to talk about how they came up with the idea, the dining and hospitality industry, and the B2B, the SaaS industry in general, and looking ahead at the future of Playbook and their plans for the future. So welcome, Josh.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's good.
Thanks for coming in. So can you tell us a little bit about the idea?
Cool. So in short, Playbook's a marketplace for the hospitality industry. For the consumer, we're the only app that shows exactly what's going on around town in terms of their in-house offerings.
Yeah.
So that's everything from brunches, ladies' nights, free-flowing evenings, etc., that can be filtered and searched in like a geolocated way. And for the merchant, we're a fully self-serving platform that allows brands to push out their offerings as and when the business requires.
Amazing. So it's a kind of a fresh idea that you came up with, and did you think it was specifically needed in Dubai?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess if we go back to like kind of my story and how it kind of started, I moved here with Deliveroo about 5 years ago. I was there for about 2.5 years, and I was interviewed when I first moved here by an app called Repeat App. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're like a loyalty-based app here in Dubai.
Yeah.
And the CEO, me and him got very close, and I didn't end up working for him. However, we became quite good friends. And about 2.5 years into Deliveroo, I knew I wanted to do something within this space with bars, restaurants, hotels. But like, you know, most entrepreneurs, it's like, where do I start? And Omar was one of the first people that I reached out to. And in short, we basically...
This is the Repeat App guy.
The Repeat App CEO, yeah. So in short, we basically put our heads together, realised there were like loads of issues within, you know, the discount culture, discount apps, and hospitality in general. And over the next kind of 6 months, we identified lots of these issues and came up with a solution, which was Playbook, and we founded the company together. Okay,
amazing. So marketplace. So essentially, you obviously need both sides to come and do that as well. But you know, in terms of loyalty and vouchers, is the Playbook experience? Is it something that is an aggregator of lots of offers and discounts, or is there? And what else is there?
Yeah, so we quickly realised that good brands, whether you're like a Zuma or a Pickle, they don't want to be associated with discounts at all, whether that's a 2-for-1, a 30% off. And when we were looking at all of these brands, we realised that every single bar, restaurant, hotel offered something that technically was discounted. So that could be a business lunch or, you know, some sort of corporate happy hour, like whatever, however you word it, it is a discount. So what we did is we essentially took all of these in-house offers that people are offering and then digitized it and made it so people can filter and search exactly what they want to do. Because, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with that question. Do you know where's good to go tonight?
Yeah.
You know, where's good to go for a business lunch? And, you know, we've all done it. We've all spent hours looking online, you know, trying to find out what's still going on. I might be stood in downtown thinking I want to do a ladies' night, but it's showing me stuff in, you know, Dubai Marina, for example. So in short, all we've done for consumers is essentially digitize what's already out there.
Yeah, makes sense. And when you say you put together, you digitize what's out there, did you actually manually go to all these places? Did you scrape their profiles online? You're not pulling it from some other app or other service. You're kind of curating this data and entry and then updating it as the offers change.
Exactly. So we've got a research team here in Dubai. So we'll call up, meet, visit, look on their socials, website, and understand truly what is going on during the week. And, you know, something we realized that these deals and offers change, you know, bi-weekly.
Yeah.
You know, because there might be one marketing person looking after X number of brands, and For Easter, for example, everyone does like an Easter Sunday thing, or it all changes during Ramadan. So what we do is we have everything up to date that people can search by price, day, what they're looking for, redeemable pool days, whatever it is, in one place, basically.
Amazing. So, but there, obviously there's apps like the Entertainer and things like that, and other vouchers thing. I think I was kind of nodding when you said that the voucher space and discount space is a bit fragmented, and we're trying to simplify that. And how have what you've produced now? So, how has this simplified it and made it different?
So, there's a couple of things there. So, firstly, if you think about it, no merchant, bar, restaurant, hotel, why would they give a third party something better than what they're already offering in store? So someone may work with like one of these big discounters, they might give a great 2-for-1, but actually in store, they'll probably offer something better in some capacity. But they might not call it 2-for-1 mains, they might call it a free-flowing evening, or XYZ, whatever it may be. People will always offer something better in store than what they're offering to third
because
parties.
they don't
Exactly.
get the directly.
But the big problem is visibility. If I don't follow their social media, or I'm not sat in the restaurant, how do I know about it? And that's the big problem. We've given these brands a platform to showcase what's going on.
Yeah, they could advertise, but
they can do that as well. They can do that as well.
Of course. So 2.5 years ago, is that when you and Omar, is that when you guys did Playbook evolve out of Repeat app, or are there two standalone?
They're two separate companies. We're like the sister company.
Yeah.
So when like most entrepreneurs, they think, right, I've got a kind of a rough idea of what I want to do. The big thing is like, where do I start? What do I do? I'm not techie at all. How do I build an app? How do I build a merchant panel? Where do I start with fundraising? How do I hire? How do I incorporate, etc. So this happened over the space of 6 months. I met up with Omar and said, look, this is roughly what I'm looking to do. And over the space of half a year, he basically said, cool, I'm in, let's do this together. So what came out of that is, he's got a team of 50, 60 people at the moment, and he's been in the market a number of years. He basically said, let's co-found a business together, use my tech resources, legal support, advice more than anything, about how to fundraise, how to incorporate. So having him in the business has been like a saving grace, because to be honest with you, I probably would have fallen on my face a year and a half ago if I didn't have someone kind of like guiding, and someone that's been through it to really kind of say like what's been happening. Yeah. And he'd also experienced a lot through Repeat about what's worked, what hasn't, what are the pain points that merchants have. And what we've done is, created that business based on my experience at Deliveroo, working with all of these bars, restaurants, hotels, as well as his experience of actually doing it, and kind of fitting that gap, to be honest with you.
So the kind of chronological phase here is that you guys have the idea, you decide to do this together, co-founder, and you're running it because he's busy with something else, and then leveraging resources and advice, and you get an app out. Is that the kind of MVP? You kind of started that way, or?
That's a simple way of doing it, but it was a bit more turbulent than that. So initially, I mean, the idea really developed over the first year of getting out speaking with people. So initially, we knew that we wanted to do something that wasn't discounting, because we knew that there was a big, I'm sure you're aware, like the discount culture is just so, there's so many discounters, whether it's a concierge service, 2-for-1s, or however you phrase it, they probably work, if the brand is open to discounting, they probably work with the entertainer. If they're against it, if they're against discounting, it doesn't matter how you coin it or how you phrase it, they're not going to work with you. So we knew we wanted to do something in this space. So for the consumer, it's quite straightforward. You can just open your phone, you can find out exactly what's going on. For the merchant, it's a bit more in depth than that. So what we essentially created was a self-serving platform whereby the merchant can self-sign up. He can upload his trade license, VAT, and sign up. He can do two things. They can push out they can post their internal offerings, like what they're offering in store themselves. but they can also have the ability to curate and post a value add offer, essentially, or experience or package. And so what I mean by this is we've identified that consumers, our user profile is less concerned about price and more focused on value. So, me personally, okay, I can get 20% off at that restaurant in Dubai Marina, but is that enough to entice me to drive there? Probably not. What I would rather do is pay a bit more, but get a load more value. So we would ask the brand, what does the average person spend on any given day? And that might be 200 dirhams. So we would say, put on something for 300 dirhams and give them the value of 400 dirhams. So it's kind of, again, it's how you kind of coin it. Is it a discount? Like, we're not putting it like that. We're all about getting customers to spend a bit more, but then giving them a load more value.
And could places, if they don't have a value add, could they just list what type of music is playing on Friday night and events?
Yeah, of course. So
they can do that too.
This is something that we're actually branching out to at the moment.
Yeah.
So at the moment, anything F&B related that's going on, we want to be the platform where people post what's happening, basically, live.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they post these exclusive packages, these can just be purchased in-app by consumers. They can turn up and eat and drink the value of what they purchased.
And how does the redemption work?
So no tech is required in store for the merchants. This is where, in short, there's some things in this market that work and that people are aware of, and we've mimicked in a certain way the redemption process of successful apps because it allows people to scale quite quickly. So you as a consumer, you can download the app for free. You don't have to pay or register. You can very simply just browse what's going on around town.
And show it.
Yeah, and if you want to purchase something that's been curated exclusively, you can register, it takes like 2 seconds, and you can purchase that package through Apple Pay. You would turn up, and the wait staff would just enter a unique 4-digit PIN, and then you could just redeem whatever you want, basically.
Okay, and what's the cost? Do you get a percentage?
Yeah, so to the consumer, it's free. You just buy the package for 200, you can eat and drink 400, for example. For the merchant, we charge a monthly subscription. We charge a 5% on any transaction that goes through us. But the big value add to merchants is the ability to get customers to come back sooner. So if you go to, say, Mamazonia tonight, you walk in, you eat, they don't know who you are. They might know who you are, but they won't know they won't know who their customers are, basically. But if they come in via Playbook, we can show the merchant in real time on our dashboard the name, age, location, where they were stood when they purchased it. Playbook can understand the behaviors of the users. So I'll know that you've clicked on Aura Skypool and then you've went to Mamazonia and you've been stood here when you do it. So the idea for this is 2 things. One is to give you personalized recommendations. So like, hey, we know you liked Mamazonia. Have you checked out Atelier M, for example? The second is to enable these brands to bring back their customers sooner and to offer them personalized things. So they can say, right, I want to send everyone that's been to Mamazonia in the last week, this is what we want to do for them, and we can send it directly to their phone, basically. Okay,
nice. Yeah. And so a couple of more technical things. So where did you register? Which free zone, which license did you get?
So we went mainland. We've got a mainland business. To be honest, this is actually a very confusing process about incorporation. Where's the best place to do it? How do you do it? So again, thank you to Omar who kind of advised, we set up mainland. We've got a small office at the moment in Mubاشر. We can go into this a bit more, but we're currently in the process of opening up a few more offices.
And so mainland, I was really getting at that. Yeah, the activities, what type of category do you call this? And why multiple offices?
Yeah, so the category, I know it's.
Whoops, technical break. We'll go on a break, or I think we'll be back. It's live, but we'll edit this for the podcast. Don't worry, Josh, that's a first, but you're good.
Yeah.
It's because the mic's a bit close. Yeah.
It was just right on the edge, sorry about that.
Don't worry. So the activity that you've
Oh God, that's such a very good question. I think it's not food, it's food tech.
Yeah.
But the actual name of the activity is something slightly different.
Something else, but you're in the food tech sort of, if for investors, you're in that category.
Food tech, yeah, food tech kind of space. I mean, right now, like what we didn't want to do is focus on a variety of things, right? We wanted to kind of focus on a bit of a niche and hopefully be known for that.
Yeah.
However, you know, we'd like to develop the product further to kind of maybe go into a few different things. You know, maybe that's gyms, health, fitness.
Interesting.
You know, more. So something we didn't want to do actually is, you know, typical things you can find on Groupon. So the tourist attractions, the desert safaris, the like the typical tourist sites, the theme parks, for example. And the moment you go into these kind of things, you compete on price, right? There's nothing unique you can do or add value to that, and it's just a race to the bottom. So that is what we wanted to avoid, those kind of things where we couldn't, you know, provide more value basically to customers.
Okay, but you also seem to like the F&B space. Like Deliveroo was obviously in that space. It was tech and food tech maybe, and then this. Where is that interest in the F&B space come from? Did you study something, or did you work in the space?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I kind of fell into the job at Deliveroo. You know, I never specifically wanted to kind of go into it. I mean,
Were you working with them in the UK first, or
No,
straight here?
so I got a job and then moved to. So I worked in their corporate team, Deliveroo for Business. And to be honest with you, I was more interested in this space because I have these problems. You know, I've essentially created something that I would use myself. You know, because I had friends come over at Christmas, and I'm in this space. I look at bars, restaurants, you know, 7 days a week basically. And someone said to me, like, do you know where's good to go on? It was like Sunday night, and I thought, actually, you know, no, I don't. No, I couldn't tell you where's busy, where's lively, where's got, you know, where's good to go. You know, I probably go to 5 or 6 places frequently, and that's kind of is what drove me to create Playbook, because it's an issue everyone faces. You know, where do I go? What's going on? And that was the main reason of kind of going into F&B.
And the name Playbook, it sounds like something sports related, or a playbook for a business. Is it more about, like, you know, play and have fun? Is that sort of idea, like the phone book?
Yeah, so this took us about 4 months to decide the name.
Okay.
And, you know, we had a huge whiteboard with 100 names on that would change frequently, daily basically.
When you say us, how many people were you working?
So for the first year, it was me, basically a man with a dream, just speaking and signing up like letters of intent. So when we first started, we didn't have a business. I quit my job and thought, we're doing this kind of thing. And we got maybe like 100 letters of intent signed by bars, restaurants, hotels, which actually means nothing. It's just a way of, you know, saying, hey, if we do this, would you be interested, kind of thing. So for the first year, it was speaking to hundreds of bars, restaurants, hotels, thinking of a name. And sorry, going back to your question.
Go ahead.
We spent, well, I would say I, the idea of Playbook, I actually, you know, I was resorting to looking through like Netflix, for example, of seeing names of titles of films, of series, to see if anything kind of caught my eye. And there was like a series called, I don't know, had the word Playbook in it. Yeah. And I thought, oh, wow, like in sport and business, a playbook is the place you look to find out what to do. Yeah. It's got fun kind of connotations.
There you go.
Play and book.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And this is why we came up with Playbook, basically. So.
Because that was interesting, because when I picked up on the wheat bit, because sometimes with logos and names, it's very subjective, and it's almost, you know, it's almost not worth spending too much time on. Of course, it's crucial, but you almost just need to pick something and stick with it and just run with it.
Yeah, I think it was like, for about 2 months, it was Finder.
Yeah.
But then I thought, Finder could be like insurance.
Yeah.
Right, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's probably the same as like naming a child. Like, people think, what do I call it? So we came up with Playbook. We're happy with the name.
Good.
But yeah.
Nice. And so when did you actually launch it?
So we launched in March this year. We soft launched in October, but we had loads of beta. We developed testing. Like this is like every time we've released the product, we've spent weeks, if not months, going out speaking to bars, restaurants, hotels, speaking to customers. What will you use? How will you use it? Getting feedback. And by March, this is like a year and a half later, we officially launched in the markets. We've been, we haven't really done a huge amount of marketing, to be honest with you. We've wanted to see when we've done a little bit of marketing, what happens? What's our retention like? Who's using it? How many people are sharing it? So we wanted to really see, is this something people will use without, if we take our hands off the steering wheel, will it move basically?
But technically, like from October into March, if I came across the app, like it was a product that worked at that stage.
Yeah, it was in the App Store in October, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think, exactly, because it's an interesting phrase, isn't it, when you launch, like, it's almost like when you open a business, it's like everything is perfect. But with tech and startups, it's iterative process. So you're constantly sort of, like, it could be a couple of years in beta while it's kind of constantly evolving and
it's very difficult.
Adding features and everything.
Of course, it's very difficult because I'm not from a technical background. And when you say, create a self-serving platform and create an app, it's, where do you begin? We started by getting a mobile phone and drawing it out on a bit of paper and saying page 1, I want this, through to page 50, I want that. But these things change, It needs to be very quick in moving, changing, adapting. Because I think the biggest mistake we made back in October was assuming people wanted certain things. So we would spend weeks building something that we thought was good, but in reality, it wasn't something people were using, or there was features that weren't being used. So for the last year, it's been a constant back and forth about what works, what doesn't, and that's something that we've kind of learnt to overcome, if you like.
And what about funding? Did you go raise funds?
Yes, so we've recently just closed a round of funding. So we've raised $750,000 to date. We raised a very small
pre-seed or
seed?
So
I mean, I'm always a bit unsure about the pre-seed. So technically, it's like a seed now, I guess.
Yeah.
We raised $250,000. First of all, it was kind of self-funded between myself and Omar. We were kind of funding it for the first, say, half a year, 9 months. We then did more like a family and friends kind of round of $250,000, and that enabled us to build a basic team. We've just closed a round of just under $500,000, very recently actually, which is enabling us to essentially, looking at scaling very quickly, basically.
Brilliant. So kind of that's amazing intro and things like that. Let's talk a little bit about the industry and sort of what led you to some decisions. So I guess there's two things. There's the vouchers and discount part, and then there's the find things what to do. And you're straddling between both of them. You're kind of across both of them.
Absolutely. I think, I very recently went to Germany, and just a prime example is like what is around me, what is there to do. And my immediate thing is I looked on TripAdvisor, but the problem is, again, maybe a bit of an assumption, I would only look at TripAdvisor if I was in another country and didn't know what to do, right? But this typically shows the touristy kind of things, the attractions, the most reviewed things in a lot of cases, not actually the happening places. And to be honest, in the UK as well, the only person I know that uses TripAdvisor, probably my mother, to find out what am I going to do kind of thing. So we kind of identified that, wherever you are in the world, you want to be able to open up your phone and find out what is near you, what's going on, where's busy, maybe a student, where can I find a student night, or where can I take my wife or girlfriend out to dinner. So we kind of identified that, the search and discovery tools for, Yelp or OpenTable, but they don't show the happening places, where do I actually want to go. And believe it or not, as far as we're aware, we're the only app that geolocates, search and filter of what people are already offering in store. So this is the real gap we're trying to nail, basically. Yeah,
I think so. The discount piece, as you said, you offer the value add, so it's about what's happening and what's buzzy as well, rather than just a discount. Because a discount mindset, as you said, isn't for everyone. Not everyone would decides what to do based on 20% off.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would, I'd get a 2 for 1 at Nando's. That's great. But it's because it's known for, I know I can get a 2-for-1 at Nando's or a 2-for-1 at, you know, whatever brand it may be. But I just don't think in a lot of cases it's enough for our user profile specifically to give someone a 20% off to decide out if they're going to go there or not. Whereas if I told you, for example, go to this place, if you spend more, you're going to get a load more value. And this is, you know, instead of discounting, we're going the other end of the spectrum where actually we're saying to brands, charge them more, but give them a load more, right?
But do you think that if you didn't have the discount part, obviously the value is there, but if you tried to create an app that was more focused on the kind of hidden gems or the cool bars around town that are packed, right, then you might come up with a different solution that isn't price-led or value-led, that's just you know, like a cool level or a trendy level, like for people to arrive something that they don't know, what are the 5 popular bars this month that will change in 3 months' time? Like, is that something that you is almost impossible to code?
Yeah, I mean, look, like Love in Dubai, for example, is what you do, right?
Kind of. I mean, local news and lifestyle, like we talk more about kind of communities and trending stories, but we're not necessarily like, we're populist mainstream media, but we're not necessarily the really kind of cool 5 or 6 bars and stuff like that. And I guess this is the thing, you know, everyone's different. When you have discount, it's a common denominator. So families might want to try and find value. Foodies might try and find value. People looking for social life, but then people into sport, people into other things would look for different things. You know, not everyone necessarily is looking for where to go in Dubai.
yeah, of course. I think it's all like perceived value, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone's got a different idea of what they're looking to do.
True.
You know, so what we're trying to do is really kind of focus on a user profile that is less price conscious, more value led, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see basically how this looks.
Yeah.
For now, we're very happy with our product and we're looking to kind of move this forward. So.
Amazing. And so when you kind of audited the market as well, like what's, you know, software for restaurants is a hard thing to decide what to do from a procurement point of view. You mentioned letter of intent and things like that, but they're in a restaurant, sometimes they have an office, sometimes it's the till, and like to have many applications and many things. What was your experience of that? And even from a Deliveroo point of view, right? Like, because they all have these devices that are branded by the till now.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough because, you know, lots of our partners, they say, hey, I get 4 or 5 calls a week, right, of people doing discounts or, you know, new delivery providers, as an example. And it's a very congested market. It's very difficult to kind of get through. So this is why we've really tried to do something that is very different to what, you know, I say very different. We're doing something that's not been done in this market, basically, because, you know, like you said, if you go into most restaurants, there's all these different delivery apps and staff are confused about all the new apps that are kind of coming on. So it's hard. It's a congested market in terms of kind of getting into the space. But something that they, like our partners like, is the fact that we don't discount. We're not a discount platform. We won't tarnish your brand. We're giving you a consolidated place to post everything that's kind of happening.
Nice.
You know, we don't require any tech in store. All you need is a 4-digit PIN, which we stick on the till. That's it. You know, so. But yeah, it's a congested space.
Let's make it simple. But because there's reservation apps as well. Do you sort of complement them, or because it's different a bit, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is something we're looking to kind of get into. We're kind of, you know, what we want to have is the full user experience of finding something, you know, opening the app, finding what you want to do, finding what's going on, and then booking a table if required. But the problem with this is that every POS has a different integration which is required. So for such a small company to build something, to have the manpower to integrate into hundreds of different POSs, it's just unfeasible at this point anyway. So, but 100%, this is a space we'd love to get into in terms of being able to book. Yeah,
and how's you mentioned you're in Germany, and you know, what's your perception of the sort of industry and these trends? Like we obviously know sort of the delivery space in food tech exploded in Dubai and UAE in the region in the last 10 years, and that's kind of getting more mature, and there's even faster delivery apps now, and you know, it's almost like that was a market that didn't exist. it existed. Deliveroo, I think, even went public, and lots of things happened, and now it's becoming a subset of that market is happening. What the space that you're in? Do you think that there's apps in the US, like say reservation apps or review apps or discount apps that are so sort of really big, and are there new trends in that area as well?
Of course. So if you look at one of the biggest players in the US, OpenTable, for example, there's OpenTable, there's Yelp. Obviously, post-COVID, numbers are actually kind of returning to how they were 2019, like globally. People are wanting to go out and spend more. Restaurants are looking for innovative ways to, they're looking to do one of two things. They're either looking to fill up seats because they're quiet, or if they're busy, they're always open to letting people spend more, And these are the two things we're really focusing on. Getting people in if you're quiet, or if you're busy 7 days a week, how do we get them to spend more? And that's why we have our kind of upsell, if you like. But yeah, the market is returning to its normal kind of levels, and we see this as a huge opportunity, to expand quickly.
It's a good timing, isn't it? Yeah, like it would have put people off to, well, if you were more advanced than you are now and the pandemic happens, your business is going to be hit a lot more, whereas when you're building during that phase, you can kind of time the market.
Yeah, I mean, we were just starting out in the midst of COVID, right? Which sounds a bit crazy, but we kind of had the assumption that, this will end at some point, and when it does, lots of the people that were out there probably, it's a hard time. If we had, 20 staff then, we would have struggled to kind of stay afloat because no one's going out, bars, restaurants are shut. However, we actually incorporated in the midst of COVID, right? Which sounds a bit crazy, but we spent this time speaking with people, developing the tech, and speaking to investors, finding out, building our product roadmap. But yeah, of course, we launched post-COVID, and things are rapidly returning to normal. Amazing. So we see this as a huge opportunity.
It shows resilience to stick with a plan. Like I know people who gave up on business plans and businesses in the travel industry during COVID. So it shows resilience to kind of plow through. It's
tough. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of times where I thought, what are we doing, kind of thing. But we were adamant. There's a space in the market for this. So we spent a lot of time. It's been turbulent, right? Yeah. It's been ups and downs and lots of no's in terms of, especially when we first started, a lot of no's from bars, restaurants, hotels, or come back to us when you've got something.
Yeah.
But when you don't have it, when you've got nothing, limited funds, knocking on doors, that's when it's been tough. But luckily, having a business partner and co-founder that's kind of been through it has
it's the hardest part, and it's why it's a good example, and for you to be honest about it and to share it, because everyone knows that period is the hardest, isn't it? Like, definitely. To convincing people of something you believe in.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing was actually quitting my job and starting, because you leave the security of having a visa, a monthly salary, but it's one of those things. If you don't jump, once you've jumped off, it's easy because you're in it then, right? Yeah. You kind of think, right, I've got to keep it moving and moving. So very grateful that a couple of years later we're now looking at our plans beyond the UAE, which is super exciting.
Amazing, and we'll get to that. But just your observation of, say, the UAE F&B industry at the moment, specifically around marketing and footfall and things like that. Do you think that sometimes they lead too much with themed nights and not necessarily their core offering and the food and the restaurant name and that type of thing, and why that leads to discounts, doesn't it? And why has it kind of gone that way here?
There's so many new bars, restaurants, hotels always opening up.
True.
Something that if you open up new on West Palm Beach, for example, within 6 months there's I think there's like 10 or 12 beach clubs just open up there, so if you're already based there, it's tough to stay relevant, you know.
And all the other places that there's beach clubs and everything,
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough to stay relevant. So lots of places are always rebranding, changing their marketing, changing the offers, because you have to. Unless you're one of the known places to go, it's tough because people want value. They want value, or they want somewhere that's just busy and lively.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult thing to gauge, like what makes somewhere truly busy.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it's like crowds attract crowds, right? If it's just the place to go, it's the place to go. So brands always have to, be on their feet and do things. So in terms of offering these like theme nights, if you're quiet, what do? If you don't want to do a 50% discount on a Tuesday, people are looking to do these, you know, ladies' nights or free-flowing evenings or change things up because they need to get people in.
And, you know, do you think that that's kind of a systematic thing about here? Like, because it's just a makeup of the city, or is it a maturing city, or do you think other cities have these challenges in the F&B industry?
It's difficult. I think every market's different. I think here is known for the things like the themed evenings. The place is known for brunches, for example. Like a brunch in London is very different to a brunch here. So Dubai, I think this is just the Dubai, what people expect. They expect themed evenings, you know, whether it's dinners, whatever it may be. In London, it's a bit different because there's less themed evenings. It's more a search and discovery kind of thing, play for London, to be honest with you, because Dubai is a small city. People know roughly, you know, what's around. Whereas London, like, I'm from the UK, and if I'm in a different part of London, I don't know, I won't have a clue, you know, the size of the city. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about Dubai is that I was at a property thing during the week, and they described it as cities within cities, and as it matures, you know, say the Palm, you give the example of the Palm, over the years, residents on the Palm didn't have a nicer mall, they didn't have all these beach clubs, and now they almost don't really need to leave. It attracts other people in, but, you know, there's just so much options now depending on where you live as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's just where do you go?
Yeah.
You know, where do you go? Is that's the question. Do you know where's good to go?
Okay,
or
Playbook.
Yeah, exactly.
But so also you mentioned that some restaurants don't do offers, right? But other restaurant owners mightn't necessarily be into tech, and we kind of touched on this about getting them on board. But how important? I remember years ago, it was one of the first companies we spoke to at Love in Dubai, like in 2015, and I knew of them through my office life before. They were a salad company. I remember speaking to the owner, and he was like, "I'm not going on delivery apps."
Yeah,
and 3 or 4 years later, he doesn't exist.
Yeah, you have to, you know.
So how do you, like, because with Deliveroo as well, so like, how do you kind of, you know, is it hard for some people who are passionate about food to kind of embrace tech?
Yes, of course. I mean, delivery apps are different because, you know, you've got the Deliveroo, Zomato, Talabat. Like, trying to convince someone to download your app, you know, is tough because people don't have 50 apps on their phone. You know, they want a marketplace. And certain demographics use certain apps, you know, delivery apps specifically, you know. So, of course, it's tough. I mean, it would be easy if everyone was, like, loving tech and wanting to be on all the latest platforms. I guess it would be easy. But the big barrier is people have very strong brand identities here where they're just like, no, I don't want to be associated with any app, or I don't want to be next to that brand, or I don't want to have that next to me. So this is a huge challenge, but you know, people realize that it goes back to, you know, having the mix between being on a platform like Playbook where we don't discount and also the need for more revenue or getting people in. So there are some brands we're aware that will never go on our app. You know,
okay.
There's some brands that will just be like, no, I don't do it, which is fine.
Yeah,
you know?
that's it. Just and Josh, when you're speaking to the restaurants, like you described it as sort of a cold calling approach or a people person meeting. But are there, obviously Dubai has a lot of hospitality groups that have many brands under them. Do you speak to the hospitality groups, and do some of them have sort of people looking at these tech products?
Yeah, this is why it's very difficult because, you know, it's quite easy to, not easy, but like it's easier to sign up like single brands, right? Because it's a quick decision making process. But when you look at some of these wider groups, they need to have, you know, the app needs to have the presence of, you know, if I'm going to be associated with you, you need to be one of the market leaders basically. So getting into some of these groups is again, it's not easy, you know, but it's one of these things that requires, you know, being chiseled away at to kind of get that reputation to kind of push through it. So we were, again, because we're not discounting, we were able to get in with lots of like the major hotels here. And this is how we've been able to basically sign up lots of people we have, because we started initially with the good brands, you know, with the Marriott's, the Kempinski, the Taj hotels, like, because the problem is if you start signing, you know, less favourable brands to begin with, you'll never get the big groups like you're talking about. So what we did straight off the bat was only go for these sought after brands basically.
Yeah, and then that's a kind of a proof of what's the word? Like that's a proof to the other ones that you were able to get those big brands.
Yeah, of course. So right now it's, we've got salespeople on the ground. However, we're kind of pivoting a little bit to full SaaS, so completely self-serving. So we've basically proven concept in the sense that, good brands want to work with us. We've also proven that customers are organically downloading, using like frequently. So the next kind of development in our roadmap is the ability to, have our HQ here and then market through LinkedIn, for example, where people can just completely self-sign up, like start to finish. We're trying to eliminate the need to have people on the ground to get these brands on board.
Okay, that makes sense. And you mentioned other markets as well. Like what's the view of market entry for you?
So right now we're actually in the process of hiring. We're setting up an office in Islamabad in Pakistan. Basically, I mean half our team are from Islamabad, Pakistan. So we've decided to actually set up almost like a data hub in Pakistan. We're currently in the process of researching New York and London. So these are going to be, they're completely apart, but these are going to be our first two international markets, if you like.
Amazing.
We've picked the city. I'm from the UK, obviously, and Repeat has actually just opened up an office in the USA. So we're going to London and New York by hopefully January next year. So.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Like there was a really good article on LinkedIn last night by a VC guy, and it was titled "From MENA to the World." And I think that's sort of the energy that people have on startups, that it can be founded in Dubai and it can go internationally. But usually people might look regionally first. Do you particularly think that from F&B and for this type of product that it suits a sort of a more affluent, sophisticated restaurateur and nightlife place?
Yeah, again, it's difficult because everyone's like, go venture across the rest of GCC. But like, firstly, I don't speak Arabic. Secondly, I've never been to any other GCC country. Like these are two, for me anyway, these are two huge blockers to, think where do I start? What is the culture in terms of buying? What's the process of, it's a very difficult thing to do. It's an easy thing to say, I'm going to go to Saudi, but when it actually comes down to how will that work? How will it be translated?
You're not using your strengths. You're not.
No, exactly. I'd really struggle. So, we've essentially picked the two biggest English-speaking cities that we're familiar with. This makes the most sense for us.
True.
And the fact that we can do it all remotely, or most of it remotely, it just makes sense. So this is the kind of first point of call for us, and then we'll see after. But
do your vision and your plans for Playbook? Do you think it can work in places like Islamabad or Riyadh?
No. So it could. It could, but I don't know. The honest answer is I don't know. Like when I say we're setting up in Pakistan, we're not looking to launch the app in Pakistan. We're just looking to have basically a team in Pakistan.
Yeah.
But the honest answer is I'm not actually too sure because I've never been. You know.
But necessarily the product you're creating for is for people in Dubai, London, New York. That's the kind of
initially,
market fit.
The overall vision is like I believe that wherever you go in the world, you should understand what is going on around you. What are people offering? Ultimately, there should be a place to look to find out the happening places to go. At the moment, there's not. There's slightly similar solutions, but that's the overall kind of goal and vision.
Amazing. And so going back to, like, you set up a company in Dubai. What's your view of the city as an entrepreneur?
It's great. There's a load of entrepreneurs here. Like, it's a great place to start, but it's also very challenging to actually incorporate and set up. Maybe it's like the lack of knowledge about how, you go about structuring the business and so on. But, it's a great place. It's been a brilliant place to develop the product, to meet investors, to hire great talent. But, the goal has always been, create the product here, build the team, but
go to market and then go further.
Exactly. We could have waited. We could have planned to stay in Dubai because at the moment we're very small, right? But we wanted to create the product, create something that works and people are using without putting any money in, basically, and then look at scaling quickly. So this has always been the kind of plan, to create something, but then ultimately have the team here, but get ourselves to a bigger marketplace, basically.
Brilliant. Cool. We're out of time, Josh, but as we finish and it's Friday, so looking forward to the weekend.
Of course.
If someone's listening and they're looking for what to do, obviously they should download Playbook, the app. But are there any 2 or 3 places that you think are good value this weekend?
Oh, you put me on the spot.
You don't have any favourites? Yeah.
So Eva Beach Club just opened up. It's a
Beautiful,
great
yeah.
mix between obviously like a beach club and a restaurant. I highly recommend that. Mamazonia just signed up to Playbook. They got
They're getting a few mentions.
yeah. So I think it's like they got spend 600, get 800 for 2. So you
Nice.
get 200 dirhams as added value.
Okay.
So there's 2 for you.
So there's an afternoon at the beach club and then a nice dinner to finish the day
Exactly.
off.
Yeah,
Cool.
exactly.
Thanks for sharing your story, Josh. Appreciate it, and we'll follow Playbook in future.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Great, thanks. Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.